this is how each publication record looks like. This is the remaining part of the publication record. The size of the record varies from half a page to 4 pages, depending on the number of authors. I have a record with 3,172 authors, a publication in physics. Oh, I shouldn't be talking about physics. Imagine how many pages of just for the names of authors. Sometimes the record is longer than the whole publication. As you know, natural scientists are not like social scientists. They are very economical with words and can write a paper in 2 to 3 pages. This means managing approximately 30,000 pages of Word document to capture the information that is required for analysis. The record has information on authors, title, journal in which the paper appeared, keywords of the subject, document type, abstract, addresses of authors, citation, subject, and number of pages. You have about 15 useful variables from each record. From these 15 variables, I created over 100 variables using recoding and transforming functions of the software program I used. You can see the variables from 1 to 19, the first page of the data matrix, and here, and the remaining list of variables up to 103. See this snapshot of the metrics of the data captured for analysis. In the first column, the number of records from 1 to 22 is seen. Keep looking the first column. The number ends at 24,589. This is the final count of publication record available after cleaning and processing. Let's see the trend of this sample. 1975, 1980, 1985, 90, 95, 2000, 2005, and 2010. And note the jump from 2005 to 2010. And there is an increase of 25% of records, and no change. If you look at this, and there is no significant change between the year 1990 and 1995. Now, the second part, quantitative study, primary empirical data. In this phase, I used a survey method, gathering data directly from scientists through face-to-face interviews. So far, we have done 2 waves of longitudinal study. The first wave was completed in 2005 with 275 participants. The second wave was done in 2007-08 with 204 scientists. Participants were drawn from a university and agriculture college, research institutes involving 22 departments, all in the KZN province. And hour-long interviews with participants were held. This is the table that presents the demographics of the participants of the first survey done in 2004-2005. You can see the gender, ethnic, and disciplinary divisions of the participants. This is the second wave, showing the details of the respondents of the second wave. Both these surveys covered a number of areas, ranging from the use of ICTs to professional contacts to research activities. The number of variables of this survey can be seen here. You can see the number of variables, 446, the first column, created for an analysis. Then I had a qualitative part, qualitative study. In this part, I interviewed 53 researchers asking about their research, professional contacts, and the application of ICTs to their research. These are the interviewees for qualitative interviews. Now, how do we measure these concepts? networks, collaboration, and productivity. Let me explain some aspects of this. Professional contacts are the contacts that scientists want to build and maintain with people who have similar professional interest. Networks, as I mean in this study, include two main aspects. We call it the structure and location. The structure is about the means of communication. In other words, how the professional contacts are built and maintained. The means of communication are face-to-face, postal mail, telephone, fax, and email. Second is the location of the networks, where these contacts are located. They could be within the province, in the country, region, or outside the country. A lot of additions and recording has to be done here before we calculate the size of networks. For instance, a scientist has 5 professional contacts. Each contact is maintained through telephone, email, and face-to-face. This means 5 times 3, 15. Then you look at the location. If these locations are in the province, region, and in the country, then 3 locations again. This means 15 times 3, 45. 15 times 3, 45. Yes, that is the size of the network. As for collaboration, a number of measures are combined. First, we look at the research projects of the respondents. Then we explore whether the projects are collaborative or not. We then gather information about the partners of these projects, their locations and institutions. This information helps us to define the types and degrees of collaboration, that is, whether it is domestic or international. If domestic, we need to know whether it is within the same institution or not. Determine the type of internal institutional or external institutional. Similarly, the degree of collaboration can be measured by counting the number of collaborations. Also gathered is the number of collaborated years in the entire career. These measures combinedly provide a great deal of possibilities for analysis. Email use. Some of the measures that can determine the email and the internet use include the average time spent on using the email and the internet in a typical week, which is measured in ranges between 1 to 10, 11 to 20, like that, number of emails sent and received in general and for specific research purposes. Productivity. Productivity is measured in terms of number of variables. Publications in national and foreign journals, chapters, books, edited books, research reports, papers at national, international conferences, workshops, and it is not just SAPC papers alone. This is counted for the period of 5 years prior to the date of data collection. The total productivity is created from the variables of all these individual productivity. So I am coming to the end of the presentation. So just to console you, that it's not going to be long. Key findings. As a result of a series of studies I have made on South African science through a variety of methods, and through the process of synthesizing the findings, I have this year developed a theoretical model of scientific collaboration. This model, published in the recent issue of the South African Journal of Science, is my modest effort towards African scholarship, underlined in the vision and mission of our university. Again, the improvisation of methods was my humble effort towards African-led globalization, one of the goals of UKZN. For instance, I used videography as a method in this research. This was not the conventional ethnographic films an anthropologist and sociologist make. I call it research films. My paper on this international sociology was received by the international community of sociologists. As evident from the reading list of courses in universities in different parts of the world, translations into other languages, and in the recent SAGE reference series on visual methods. Another example is my use of bibliographic methods. I should mention this, otherwise my colleague in the department will be unhappy. I have to face him after this lecture. He was very excited when I showed him the findings about what sociologists are researching in the post-apartheid era. Not many sociologists use this method, but the method has the power to map the growth of science. Some aspects back to the model of scientific collaboration in South Africa. The model of scientific collaboration in South Africa is unique in several respects, and it offers some lessons for other countries. In South Africa, scientific collaboration is an accepted practice among scientists, supported by the government, higher education institutions, research institutes, industry, the private sector, and individual scientists. Collaboration is considered part of the scientific enterprise. The structural support for collaboration is seen in the positive policy decisions taken at governmental level and implemented in the centers of research and academic activity. Distance doesn't matter in collaboration. South Africans partner with scientists from countries all over the world, notably with those in distant locations. Like geographical limits, disciplinary boundaries are not restrictions for South African scientists. Some branches of science, such as medicine and plant and animal sciences, are more collaborative and productive than other branches of science. Collaboration during apartheid abetted the country to keep its advantageous position in many branches of science, bringing a greater international visibility to South African science. Scientists who are research intensive are often collaboration intensive too. An active researcher engaged in a number of research projects is likely to be an active collaborator. All major sectors, university, industry, hospitals, research institutes, and government are part of collaboration. The governments in the past encouraged the inflow of scientists and academics to the land. This is continued today. Due to the stance taken by the international community against the apartheid administration, South Africa decided and worked more seriously for South Africanization and independence of its science, which had been successfully realized in a few realms of science and technology. South Africa shared a broad vision, aspiring to give leadership to scientific endeavors that would ultimately benefit the people. Sectorally, research institutes favor domestic collaboration, whereas universities incline more towards international collaboration. Collaborators produce undeniable effects on the productivity of partners. An increase in the number of international collaborative projects is associated with an increase in the publication output of South African scientists. Domestic collaboration does not have as much of an effect on the productivity of scientists as international collaboration does. Communication, specifically via email and the internet, is a powerful factor in the collaboration endeavors of South African scientists. Email is the most prominent medium for research communication, advancing collaborative research interests of scientists. Adequate infrastructure, access to modern ICTs, and their effective usage serve scientists in their research. In contrast to non-collaborative researchers, collaborators maintain diverse and larger networks. In given circumstances, contacts and networks might lead to new alliances. Collaboration and networks are interrelated. International networks positively affect international collaborations, and international projects have larger international networks. Academics have larger contacts from professionals outside the continent, as different from scientists in research institutes. For scientists in research institutes, domestic networks are more important. There is a dichotomy of collaborators and non-collaborators. That is, there are clear differences between these two categories. Collaborators report a larger network, total size, that emanates from their professional contacts. The email network of collaborators hints that they make greater use of emails than non-collaborators. The size of the total professional network can be predicted using regression models by the number of collaborative projects the scientists have and the size of their email network. Collaboration and email networks are therefore closely related. However, one is not sure which comes first. Networks might be a sequel to collaborative research, requiring scientists to maintain professional network ties. It might also be the other way around. Contacts and networks might have spurred collaborative alliances between scientists. Whichever the direction it takes, collaboration and networks are indeed interrelated. What flows from this analysis is that international networks have a positive relationship with international collaborative projects. Productivity increases correspondingly with an increase in the number of collaborative projects. This is surprisingly not the case with domestic collaboration, which is not associated with productivity. Let me show you a part of this model. This is a very simplistic form, just for the sake of understanding. A collaboration leading to joint contacts leading to collaboration, and then it leads to productivity. I must tell you that collaboration is not always easy. One respondent told me this, quote, "You don't play tennis with someone who is much weaker than yourself, because there is no pointing in. You will just win all the time." And it's very much the same in collaboration. I mean, when you are collaborating on a paper, you would collaborate with someone with whom you would benefit as much as they would benefit, unquote. You all might be tired now, eh? I'm tired. I want to conclude this lecture by showing you a few minutes of a film I produced in 2006. This was premiered at the Nexus conference in Manchester. This was about collaboration. The key part is played by a real scientist. Please watch this. Thanks once again for your time, attention, and patience. Giabonga Nomke.
Jerry, have you seen this?
Okay, what's this? Oh, that's a publication, yeah. So it's just come out. Is this the most recent one?
Yes.
Have I told you about this paper?
No, but I'd love to hear the story. Should we sit?
Yeah, it was quite difficult, We got the draft in without a problem, although it's difficult because he's in England and I'm over here. And that was fine. And then the editor called me after about 6 weeks and he said, "Look, we've got the referees' reports in. It's fine, there are 1 or 2 small changes. Can you do them within 10 days? Because that's when I'd like to get it out into the next issue." So I said, "No, that's fine, just email the changes across to me and I'll contact Mike in England and we'll do it," which is fine. But then I emailed him with the stuff. No response, 2 days, 3 days,
Is this Mike?
4 days, Mike, yeah. And so I thought, what the hell's going on? So I thought, well, I better call. So I called his secretary. And she said, "No, he's in Brazil. He's out of touch for another 3 days at least. He's in some jungle area of Brazil." And so I said, "Well, it's urgent because, the editor wants it within a day or two now." So she said, "Well, he'll be back. Get him when he comes back first of all, immediately, and we'll see what we can do." So I did it, and we managed to touch base. That was fine. And then we sent it off to the editor again. And then I went away. He called me again when I was away, and so on it went. And it took us probably 3 weeks. We missed the issue that he wanted it in, and that's why it came so late, because of our travelling around and not keeping in contact with each other. So.
That was a clip of a 16 minutes movie. It was just 3 minutes. Not to bore you with 16 minutes long movie. Thank you very much.
Good evening. Deputy Vice Chancellor and Head of the College of Humanities, Professor Cheryl Potgieter, Deputy Vice Chancellor and Head of the College of Law and Management, Professor Mubangizi, our celebrant, Professor Sriamuthi, ladies and gentlemen. I have 2 tasks to accomplish this evening, but before I do that, allow me to welcome the new professor to the family of professors. Professor, you are most welcome. Now, let me go to my job description. I have 2 functions to perform. The first one is to offer vote of thanks. First, to thank the professor for giving us such a wonderful lecture. We appreciate it so much. As with tradition, I will not go into the lecture because what the professor has said, I'm not worth it to untie his professorial sandals, so I will not go into his lecture. Second, to appreciate the presence of our DVC and Head of College, Professor Potgieter, for presiding over this function. Also, to welcome DVC of a brotherly and sisterly college, Professor Mubangizi, welcome back home. And also to appreciate the work that has gone on in organizing this function. And here I would like to thank the Office of the Registrar through the able leadership of Mr. Zuma there. And your team, thanks a lot for a job well done. I know very soon I'll be inviting you to some refreshments. I would like to take this opportunity to thank those who have prepared those refreshments. Thank you so much in advance. Getting to the next item, we will, after the national anthem, proceed to have refreshments. I would like to say that when I leave the stage, we shall have the national anthem. And after the national anthem, we shall have the procession. As the academic procession is walking out, I would like to ask the audience to stand. Thank you so much for coming. Thank you so much. Let's have the national anthem.